Hello and welcome to my meditation. My name is Debra Baker and I'm so grateful that you have joined us for this little while. I've had an interesting week in a very good way, and so that's what our meditation is going to be about. So you ready? Settle in and let's get started. And I'm recording in the evening, so you might be able to see some fireflies. So let's begin with 3 really nice deep breaths. Boy, the birds have something to say. Breathing into our chest, fill it up, hold it for a moment, and then let it go. And now let's breathe into our chest and upper back. Hold it for a moment. And then let it go. And now let's take the deepest breath we've taken all day, breathing into our chest, upper back, all the way down into our bellies. Feel your belly expand even. Hold it for a moment. And let it go nice and slowly. Now allow your breathing to slow down, maybe deepen a little. Your heart rate will slow down on its own, or slow down just slightly, not like, a huge amount. And your brain will shift to the brain wave of meditation. So let's relax our bodies, and let's do the usual pressing our ankles, feet, knees, legs together. Take a breath and press, press, press. Squeeze your legs together for the breath. And when you're ready to let the breath out, relax your legs and feet. And I can feel that in my hips even. And now let's do all the way up to the bottom of our rib cage. So pull up your pelvic floor, tighten your glutes, pull in your lower abs, and just imagine giving between your rib cage and your tailbone a nice hug. Take a breath and squeeze it all. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. The tighter you squeeze it, the bigger the release. And now let it go. And now we're going to do the tough half of our torso in 2 stages, front and back. So bring your fists, gentle fists, up to your shoulders. And press your arms into your sides. Pull your shoulders forward. So expand your back and squeeze in, the front of your torso. Take a breath and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then when you're ready, let it go. These are my almost favorites. And now imagine pulling your shoulder blades together, expanding your rib cage in the front, keeping your fists at your shoulders. Take a breath and squeeze your shoulder blades together. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And when you're ready, let it go. And now this is my favorite one. Bring your shoulder blades up to your ears. Tuck your chin gently. Pull all your facial muscles tight. Like squeeze it, like you're squeezing your skull. All your muscles in your skull. Take a breath. And squeeze your neck with your shoulder. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And when you're ready, drop your shoulders and let it go. Now let's just take some nice deep breaths. Yeah, just relaxing. So I went to a class reunion, an elementary school class reunion, a little over a week ago, and it was honestly one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And the reason why I want to meditate on that is because we think that people perceive us in a certain way, and especially when we're young, the same way we perceive ourselves perhaps. And what was the biggest learning experience of going to that class reunion was finding out that people didn't perceive me the way I thought at all. And I think, gosh, if I had known that, it would have changed how I looked at myself. And maybe that still is true for some of us today. It's true for me, I'm sure, in some ways. So let's just think about our preconceived notions, the way we look at ourselves. So just be quiet, listen to the birds, and just think about maybe one way that you harshly judge yourself or you criticize yourself, one way that you kind of hold yourself accountable, or, something in that nature. Just see what comes up. And what if it's not true? What if the way you look at yourself isn't accurate? I mean, it's true in the fact that that's your perception of yourself, but what if it's not accurate? I think in a very simple way, sometimes we think people don't like us, and you come to find out that they do. Or maybe they like us a lot more than we thought they would or did or do. Or maybe our perceptions of ourselves in other ways aren't accurate. Maybe you're not as dull as you think you are, or boring, or, maybe you do have a really clever sense of humor, or, lots of things. So let's just think about giving ourselves some grace. That was Daisy walking by, as I'm sure you guessed. She's on the hunt for something, I'm not quite sure what. And the other part of this experience that I think is really important is I made the decision before I went that I was going to be real as I could be to each person. And I got the suggestion from a classmate. He said that he had gone to a class reunion a number of years ago and decided to speak to every person there. And so I did the same, and it was so wonderful and so enlightening. And so really what I did was, in being real, was I went in being vulnerable. Instead of trying to pretend like, the bad things that have happened in my life didn't happen, or framing them so they weren't so bad, I just came right out and said, this is what happened. This was my life for a while, and now it's different. And there's some things about me that, most of them didn't know, and I actually started telling people ahead of time. And one of the things was, hey Debra, what is it you're doing now? I'm a psychic medium. And, I just decided that that's who I am, that's what I do, and I'm not going to pretend differently. And it was wonderful. And so the point I'm making is there is power in being vulnerable. There is a gift, there's grace in being vulnerable. And so let's take a moment and think about the things we don't want people to know about us. And what if instead of keeping it a secret, we lead with that? Your vulnerabilities, your soft spot, your tender spots are sacred. And I believe most people honor them and give us grace when we share from the heart, from the soul. So I guess my invitation to us this week is to be more real, to be truthful, vulnerable, and also to trust our guidance. Because there are probably in my life people I would not share certain things with, and that's okay. But mostly I've surrounded myself with people who accept me as I am. And that came from a lot of work with accepting myself as I am. Years ago, I ran into the mother of one of my dear, dear friends. I hadn't seen her in years, and I was back visiting where I grew up, and I said, "How are your 7 kids?" And she said, "They're all doing well, and I don't know if it's because of or in spite of me." And I thought that was so endearing because she was such a precious, precious person, and I'm sure it was because of her. But what a humble thing to say. What a vulnerable thing to say, because as any of you are parents, you know that you never know. You do your best and you hope for the best, and then you have to let go of the rest. Who you are, the true you, the vulnerable, precious, scared you is absolutely precious. Is, someone people want to know. So I invite you to appreciate yourself and not expect yourself to be someone that you're not, but to just be who you are. And to remember that people change. Chances are everyone listening to this meditation has changed in the past 10, 20 years. I find the most exciting people to be the ones who are growing and changing. The ones whose concepts of the world and their higher power and how everything works as best we can understand it, when those concepts grow and change and expand, I find those people to be so exciting because they're vital and alive. And you are vital and alive and wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So let's just be quiet, listen to, I think this is insects now that we're hearing. The birds have gotten quiet as it's gotten darker. to know that you have such a wellspring of grace inside of you, that people want to know you, people want to love you. And I know that somewhere, if you're, removed from it in any way, that there's a part of you that wants to love you. And that is so, so valuable. You are so precious, exactly as you are. You don't owe anybody any explanations for the choices that you've made, for the way your path has taken you. It is yours. And you don't have to explain it to anyone. And to know that all truly is well, that you are whole and perfect, even when you don't feel like it, maybe especially when you don't feel like it. And I don't know if you heard that growling from Daisy. I'm pretty sure she was growling at a firefly. I don't know if it startled her or what. It was kind of funny. I wish I could have you individually, each in front of me, and tell you that you're a wonderful soul exactly as you are, and that people want to know you, people want to love you, despite what maybe someone may have taught you when you were growing up. Some of those growing up experiences were just plain wrong, or erroneous, or false, or whatever, and they sure have a way of sticking around. So I invite you to let them go and let the truth of who you are settle in, because you truly are whole and perfect, exactly as you are. You are whole and perfect, exactly as you are. And sometimes we need to hear that over and over and over again. And that's okay. Whatever we need is worth it, because you are worth it. So thank you so much for joining me in Daisy, who is crying to go in. That poor thing. She's been outside for 20 whole minutes. And now we have an airplane going over. It's just never a dull moment here. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. It really means a lot to me. I feel so honored when I learn that anyone is tuned in. It doesn't, that was a mosquito bite, time to get in. It's not a small thing for me. Anyone who listens, it really is a big thing. It really touches me deeply. So thank you. And let me remind you that the one presence and the one power moving in, through, and as me honors and recognizes the one presence and the one power moving in, through, and as you. Namaste. Have a wonderful week.